605 day of Russian invasion straight from Ukraine, the situation at the front. Today, significant developments emerge from the direction of Avdiivka. In this region, Russian troops intensified their onslaught in the northern sector, while Ukrainians responded fiercely with a southern counteroffensive, potentially jeopardizing the entire Russian advance. Initially, concerning the north, Terrikon became the focal point for Russian military actions. In a previous update, I mentioned that during their last surge, Russian forces only achieved a limited foothold near the mountain, which, from a strategic viewpoint, made little difference. The Russians recognized this shortfall too. Aware of the vulnerability of their newly acquired positions near the mount, they felt compelled to reinforce immediately, harnessing the momentum from their recent gains. Hence, Russians mobilized for another assault, aiming to penetrate Terrikon despite imminent threats from multiple fronts while ascending the mount's entryways. Geospatial analysis reveals the movement of countless Russian tanks and armored vehicles from Krasnohorivka and Vesely towards Terrikon. Notably, the nearest access point to Terrikon is quite remote for the Russians. To make inroads, they must perilously expose their sides directly to Ukrainian gunners. Additionally, the Ukrainian artillery is primed to strike the moment Russian units approach. As evidenced, Russian contingents have previously suffered considerable losses in similar assaults, yet a fresh battalion was dispatched to navigate this perilous terrain. Experiencing staggering casualties, Russians continued their efforts at the base of the mount. Ukrainian units from the 110 Brigade overseeing this region highlighted that due to the abundance of targets, their drone operators expend numerous grenade crates daily. Supplementary aerial support was initiated by the Russians, but it backfired when their air defenses mistakenly downed an Mi-8 helicopter, leading to total crew fatalities. Russian insiders also indicated the demise of a battalion leader during one skirmish. Some Russian commentators speculate that their intent is to deplete Ukrainian ammunition stocks. There's a semblance of truth to this, as despite suffering massive losses, Russian troops managed to corner the Ukrainians. Reports suggest several Russian armored units reached the mountain peak and engaged Ukrainian defenders. The remnants of this battalion were eventually neutralized, but the Russians seem to have compromised key firing points on Terrikon, causing the Ukrainians to reposition. Both factions now maintain fire supremacy, leaving the mount without direct control. This shift is unfavorable for Ukrainians, erasing their strategic height advantage. If Russians dominate the mount in subsequent efforts, they'll pave the way for a northern envelopment. However, Ukrainian leadership wasn't content with a defensive stance. Recall the recent strategizing sessions by the Ukrainian top brass. It appears a southern counterstrike was on the agenda. Today, Russian reports confirm a formidable Ukrainian counteroffensive from the south, aimed at progressing to Pisky and potentially beyond. This maneuver intends to isolate Russian units in Vodiany and Opitny, negating the bridgehead the Russians have been laboriously establishing to facilitate a southern envelopment. If the Ukrainians succeed, the significance of Russian gains in the north diminishes, thwarting yet another encirclement attempt. Current reports indicate Ukrainians advancing towards key fortifications, and, as Russian sources acknowledge, the pressure on Pisky intensifies continually.